When you just roll off your sits bones, you don't want to hang in your low back.
Right.
You're literally just rolling off of your sitting bones and you're holding that. Now, you might have to tip back just a little bit more so that you can bring your legs up, and then you're going to use your arms to invite your ribs forward, but you don't get to hang in your low back. Now, Veronica already talked about that perching, we call it, when you come up. Lordotic people love to do that, right? Because they perch because they don't have the strength in their psoas to support flexion in their lumbar spine. Today,
we're going to do rolling like a ball.
We are.
Okay, so that's our spinal massaging, our abdominal massaging. It's just actually kind of fun. Everybody should do it.
It is. It's super fun, and it is. This exercise is the basis for so many exercises. So if you can truly, I'm not going to use the word master, but in a sense,
understand
master this, understand it, and work really hard in being good at this, it's going to help you with a lot of other exercises, and we'll kind of show you why. So shall we? I feel like the transition is such an important part of connecting into the exercise correctly. And so many of us just
don't do it.
And
there's strengthening to be had in that.
Absolutely is. So from the single leg circle, you're going to hold onto your leg and you're just going to roll yourself up. At this point, both feet are going to be on the mat at the same place. You're going to take your hands to the back of you and you're going to push into your hands and feet equally. Now, what I want you to do, I'm just going to get you to stay a little bit lower in your pelvis when you come up. Just because there, right from there. Push into the mat and find your kind of like scoopy kind of place. Now keep connected and gently bring your pelvis forward, but stay connected. Now you're going to stay there, lower your pelvis. Now with your strong psoas, invite your knees in towards your chest. You're going to hold your legs there and then tippy-toe your hands back, and then that's it. You have ownership of your legs. Take hold of your ankles. Now there's that pinky line to the back of the armpit again. Rib cage is coming up and forward, sacrum down and under. Here you are in your position. Now, as she inhales, she's not going to throw her back. She's going to inhale. She's going to pick her hips up to roll onto her shoulders, and then exhale as she comes back up again. So big breath to suspend the ribs as the pelvis initiates the roll back. So that's the beauty of the inhale, is try to use the inhale to feel like it's keeping your ribs up and forward, and then allow your hips to take you back.
So as opposed to leaving your rib cage behind, as opposed to what you were saying, rib cage up and over.
And see how she lost her arms there. So that whole, that happens in so many places. So finding the organization of the arms onto the back of the shoulders is really important.
Yeah, because it keeps you connected to your spine, and as soon as you lose that, you lose your center.
You do.
You probably can't see it, but my knees are hip joint width apart, not super wide, but definitely not together. They have a little bit of a Pilates V. And this is actually quite difficult, even though it's a level 1. So people could modify it, of course, by holding the back of their legs. And sometimes the backs just don't have that availability yet. But what's really important is that we don't want to get up on our sit bones, because now we're not going to have the strength of our psoas and our abdominals holding us in flexion. You really want to finish when you rise up. It's not to stay in pause. You're a ball, so you're supposed to continue to roll. But we would basically just sort of pause just behind the sitting bones, right? And then just to go again, right? So, and then really using your breath.
So just a couple things, and this is, it can be a lot, but going back to the tucked person versus a lordotic person real quick here, and I'm going to speak it here quick because rolling like a ball, if you can figure it out here, it just translates into so many other exercises. If we all want to just sit on our sits bones for a moment and just take your feet out in front of you, what you want to do in your rolling like a ball, in any flexion actually is what it is, you want to just roll just off of your sitting bones. Now, If you tend to be more of a tucker, whether you know what that is or not, it's like you hang out in your low back. When you just roll off your sits bones, you don't want to hang in your low back. You're literally just rolling off of your sitting bones and you're holding that. Now, you might have to tip back just a little bit more so that you can bring your legs up, and then you're going to use your arms to invite your ribs forward, but you don't get to hang in your low back. Now, Veronica already talked about that perching, we call it, when you come up. Lordotic people love to do that, right? Because they perch because they don't have the strength in their psoas to support flexion in their lumbar spine. So trying to find this point just off of the sits bones every time you come up is super important. So that's here. Now, do you see how her rib cage is over her shoulder girdle, over pelvic girdle? She's trying to find the flip side of it over there. So as she rolls back, she wants to try and get her pelvic girdle over her shoulder girdle. That is super imperative in order to become successful at jackknife, at corkscrew, rollover, all of that. We need controlled balance. We need to start to find that. And many of us don't maybe even think of doing that.
No, they actually just stay back here.
Just stay there. Yeah, and we fool ourselves and we just do this little rocking, and that's okay.
Woo! They think they're further because their feet are over their face.
Because their feet are over their face, exactly. So just start to focus on that and try and get your hips up so that you balance on the upper part of your shoulder blades, let's
not
say.
the neck.
So that you start to create that, because this, can you come back into the rolling like a ball position? So there is her position. Well, guess what? This position, if you were here, and if I stretched Veronica's legs out and stretched her arms out, it's teaser. And that's just one of the many exercises that it is. I could go on and on with this exercise.
That's a workshop.
As well, that is a workshop. Can I show one thing?
Absolutely.
If you're having difficulty getting onto your shoulder girdle when you roll back, it's because there's not enough weight, there's not enough flexibility, there's a lot of things. So what I allow some of my clients to do is I just allow them to extend their legs so that it's a lever to get them higher.
Just as a modification.
As a modification, so that the lever of their leg gets them higher onto their shoulder girdle. So it doesn't mean that the extension of the leg drops them into their low back.
Like this.
It's not that.
It's
the lever of the leg. It's kind of pulling you over so that you can start to practice what it feels like to get over there. And it is just a modification, but it teaches the nervous system.
A little bit like short spine.
A
little bit, right?
Let's show the modification for those that have a little bit more volume in their center.
Or fear.
Or for many reasons, right? So
this is for those that either have shorter arms and or a little more volume. That they really can't reach their legs without feeling like their arms are getting pulled off or they're hanging by their fingertips. Grab a belt. This is a little braid that we just put together, but you can grab a belt or a TheraBand probably wouldn't work, but something with some stiffness so that they do have that space for their volume, and if they have a tighter back, and then they can find their uniform bend without hopefully hanging, and then that way it's just a bigger ball. It's not so tightly squished in, which is, ultimately, but it doesn't work for everybody. And I do have some clients that cannot bend their knees. It just isn't available. So if they can't get their heels to bound, it doesn't matter. Just have a little straighter. So, I have had clients that are actually quite fearful of this, of going backwards. So I'll start them on the ground and I'll just get them to start rocking and rolling. And then before you know it, they're up. And I just rock and roll and keep breathing. And sometimes they laugh because they're rolling like a box, not a ball, right? Like my back isn't, but this is why we do that, because there is so much tightness generally through some lower backs. But you just rock and roll and breathe.
And you will see that, right? Rolling like a box. That's funny. Because if you do have a tight low back, lumbar, you'll flatten out.
And one thing that's very, very important is, where are they looking? If they are not looking down, I guarantee you your spine will go where you look. So if you insist on going like this, you're going to do like a backflip. So keep looking down. I always say look down at your cleavage, whether you got it or not, so that we're kind of back here. But what I'll see often is I'll go, well, you can't roll because your body wants to go into somewhat of an extension, not an extension, but a flattening. So don't flatten your tire. Keep looking down at you the entire time. Do not lose sight of your belly button or the top of your shirt or what have you. It's very important that you stay looking inwards in rolling like a ball.
Again, lots to say about that exercise, but pivotal exercise for so many other exercises.
For a level 1 exercise.
Yeah.
That's why I think some of them, they're even harder sometimes than the more advanced.
I think so.
Okay, that's what we got to say about that today. So we'll
that's it.
see you at our next episode.
Thanks for joining us.